Welcome to Make the Grade with the Success Doctor, Stephen Green, where you'll discover actionable strategies to help your student to reach their academic goals, to excel at standardized testing, and to plan for the college admissions process painlessly. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Green.
All right. How is everybody doing tonight? Steve Green here from Make the Grade. This week's edition, the 10th, number 10, lucky 10, Education Live Thursday. We are here in the studio, and we have a fantastic guest tonight. And I got to tell you, I made a list. I didn't want to forget anybody, and I really want to acknowledge all the guests. I've had 10 guests, first 10 weeks, and they've all been fantastic. I've gotten great feedback, 100%, 5-star, fantastic feedback. And I know the guest tonight's going to just keep that streak going. Right, Jerry? He's in the green room here. But anyway, so I just want to acknowledge, here's what we do. Here's what we do at Thursday Night Live Education, Thursday Education Live. Topics in education, okay, which is very, very broad. So, it's going to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But the whole focus is on helping parents to help their children to succeed academically. Okay. So sometimes we're talking academics, a little bit more today. We're talking finances. So I just want to thank Phoenix Babness, my first guest one, how to succeed in college. She was fabulous. Linda Hollenbach, how to get into college, how to maximize your college resume. Hallie Steinberg, talking about nutrition, how to keep your body, your mind strong. Patty Lou, if you're an athlete, how do you get the scholarships? How do you maximize that piece of it? Carly Myers, Stress Less. That's her company. Just how to relax, how to get rid of that test anxiety. Samantha Feynman, executive coaching expert. Tremendous. And I got to thank Samantha doubly because she had me on her show as well. And we had some really good stuff with that. Sarah Lorraine, school psychologist, how to not get taken advantage of if you have an IEP, how to get the accommodations that you deserve and you're entitled to. Katrina Van Riet, our first international guest all the way from Holland in Europe, talking about how they teach over there, a little bit different than here, the online world, things like that. Last week, we had kind of a MASH replay. And this week, my guest, a guy named Jerry Gross. And I met Jerry over the summer. And you know what the reality is? Let's just call a spade here. College is very expensive. Anybody want to disagree with that? Yeah, nobody. That's what I thought. So I'm going to bring Jerry in. We're going to talk about mitigating costs, doing what you can do to help yourself and help your family. Not going broke, because listen, we all believe in education, right? But we don't want to go broke doing it. And here he is, Jerry Gross, the one, the only, the famous, the one, the only, Jerry Gross. How are you, Jerry?
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, it is evening. It is freezing out here. I'm not a cold weather person. How do you feel about cold weather?
I hate the cold weather.
Yeah, me too. Aren't we in Florida or the Caribbean right now?
My daughter's in Florida. She's the smart one.
Yeah, right. So let me tell you a little bit about Jerry, and we are going to start our conversation. Jerry is an MBA, a CLU. I don't know what that is. He can tell us. A CHFC. I don't know what that is either. He also earns Jerry Gross Financial. 1981. I was in college in 1981. That's how long this guy's been working. Focuses on college and retirement planning. Offers counsel to help people decide when the best time to take Social Security, take long-term care, parenting independent financial consultant, and insurance agent. Jerry's on his second marriage. Second better than the first.
A lot better.
Okay. That's not really why you got you here, but sometimes it goes that way. Now he's got 4 kids, as they call it now, a blended family, but they're all out of school. They're all college graduates. All got their own lives. One of them gave him a grandkid, and they're all over the country from what I could tell. I got one in New York, one in Florida. Where's the other one? Somewhere in Bucks County. Right. But anyway, it's not about them. This is about Jerry Gross. So Jerry, here's the operative question. How do parents, and we can talk about this for a while tonight, but not go broke, literally, or going to hock, send their kids to college? I know you can't answer that in one sentence. So is there a quick and dirty? Then we're going to break it down into the minutia.
So what I'm going to talk a little bit about today is not textbook stuff, because it's very easy to learn it. What I'm going to talk about is all the stupid mistakes I personally made with my 2 kids financially. Some things I got lucky with, and it's funny is before my kids went to college, I would teach college planning, and now that they've been through it and I've been through it, I have a completely different opinion about college planning, financial college planning, than I did when I would teach people about it before I went through it myself. So how you go broke is don't have kids is the answer. Don't have kids.
Well,
Don't send them to college.
The cows are out of the corral for that for some people. But that's another discussion. But
exactly. All I can tell you is that
go ahead.
I had set my daughter went for 7 years, 4 years undergrad, and 3 years of law school.
Okay.
And my son went 4 years undergrad and then 1 year for his master's degree. During about an 8-year window, I put zero money into my retirement account. Meaning is every dollar that I earned, even though I did some good things, all my extra money went to help them for college. And none of that money went into my name for my future retirement. So when you say go broke, it was a tough, and I really commend parents who deal with it. It was really tough 8, 9, 10 years getting extra money for my job, but then using it to pay for college expenses and college related expenses and things that happen that is not in the textbook of what you spend when your kids go to college.
Because you plan, but you can't plan for everything.
Right.
So you have a unique combination of book knowledge, professional knowledge, street smarts, if we can call it that. I mean, you got 2 kids you put through school.
Right.
And you got let's call it experience on your side, because you're not exactly a spring chicken, right?
Correct.
So, okay. So let me do it this way. Let's break this down into some categories. We're going to talk about savings.
Right.
Talk about some insurance options.
Right.
We'll talk about financial aid, maybe mitigation or maybe ways to get more of it. So let's start with savings. Okay.
Okay.
So is this the sort of thing like somebody has a baby, they're at the hospital, the day they get home, they should call their financial guy and start a savings plan? What's your viewpoint on this?
Okay. So what I did was when I had my first child, I did start putting away $300 a month into an account for her to go to college. And my goal was that if she was going to go to a state school, which she did, she went to Temple. My goal was to have $100,000 by the time she was 18. I didn't get to $100,000. I got close, but I didn't get $100,000. So I started probably when she was 2. I put $300 a month in, and that was my plan to save for her to go to college. But I also didn't save enough money for myself. For now, like you said, I'm not a spring chicken. I was a spring chicken, but now I'm not anymore. It probably would have made more sense to take that $300 that I was putting away for her college and use it, maybe help me have more money now than I had because of putting it away for her college. Assuming you have limited dollars to invest.
Well, look, we're all not billionaires, right?
Right.
I mean, you may be, I'm not, but
right.
And listen, just to be clear, the spring chicken comment was a compliment.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay, so let's call it plan A, save money. I mean, that makes sense, right? You sit there, you say, well, we project that Temple, I mean, I put 2 kids through Temple, love it. Right. It's going to cost X. Got so many years to do it, X amount a month, so much appreciation and interest and all that.
Right.
Maybe you got it covered. And for maybe lack of a better term, and correct me if I'm wrong in the vocabulary, I'm going to call it kind of a traditional plan, right? Now, as you pointed out correctly, though, what it did was it was an impediment to you building your nest egg.
Correct.
Because, you've got a limited window to do that. We can't keep dumping money away when we're 82.
Correct.
That's when we're spending it. So what are some creative financing, some other ways people can do this and maybe have their have their cake and eat it too? And get the kids their education, because in my world, and most of the parents I interact with, education is a priority. They're willing to invest the money. This is not a question, is it money well spent or not, at least to a degree. The question is, how are you going to pay for it?
Right.
So Give me some insights on that.
My daughter's 30, right? So she was in college 12 years ago. And 12 years ago, had I used that money for myself, I would probably be better off now. Where what turned out to be is that I use this term now, but I didn't use it then. It's when your kids go to college, you can borrow money for college. You can borrow money in the parent's name, called a parent plus loan, or you can borrow money in their name, just regular loans.
Okay.
But when you get to almost retirement, you can't borrow money for retirement unless you have a rich aunt that's going to die and leave you money, right? So college you can borrow, retirement you can't. So he or she that has more money at 65 years old is better than he or she who doesn't have money at 65 years old. So, assuming you got your health.
So let's just be clear. We're not here giving quote unquote financial advice, right?
Correct.
I mean, I know you're certified or whatever.
Right.
You can do this, but in this particular forum, we're not telling somebody go borrow money for college directly.
Correct.
We're saying an alternative strategy is if you run the numbers and you do the math, you're better off banking the money, letting it grow interest and compound over that 10 or 15, 20 years and borrow money at whatever, I don't know, 3, 5, whatever a loan for college is, and then dealing with the debt that way.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, first of all, the first strategy, if you can, is as you probably work with those kids, if the kid can get some scholarship money, then obviously it's one less dollar you're paying towards college.
Yeah, always.
So the kid, when he hits 15, your job is to make sure that kid is getting great grades, doing well in the SATs. And the third important thing, which is almost as important as SATs and ACTs, are making sure that kid has a lot of extracurricular activities.
Yes.
If they have that, like my daughter went to Temple, she got money because she was very busy in high school. I didn't know that being busy in high school was going to help me when she went to Temple, because Temple threw money at her, good grades, good SATs, and then extracurricular. I was running around like a crazy person when she was 14, 15, 16. But then because of that, Temple threw money at her, which I was very grateful for. So the first thing is make sure your kid at 16 years old is busy and active in the community so that a college will throw some money at you. And every dollar that they throw at you is more dollars you can save for your eventual retirement.
Let me bring up this though, because I hear this from parents. Temple's a great school. You get a great education, but it's not exactly the most expensive school in the world, right?
Correct.
So what do you say to a parent I don't know, who makes $103,000 a year, which is a decent living, but where the cost of living isn't cheap. And then they're trying to send their kid to a school that's $65,000.
Okay, so my first question to that parent is, what's the kid want to do when they're done?
I mean, what is your?
If the kid's going to law school, if the kid's going to law school or graduate school or medical school, the undergrad program is not as important as the next college.
Okay.
So what's wrong with the kid going to Temple for 4 years and saving the parents some money, and then going to a better law school, medical school, dental school, spend the money there and not spend it so much on your undergrad program?
So what you're basically saying,
NYU to study social studies and astronomy as a business major, when he gets a great degree from Penn State or Temple, the Fox School at Temple has to be as good as the business school at Harvard, in my opinion.
Well,
after that's done,
and it's a lot less
money. Go for his master's at Harvard, then let him go there for 2 years.
So basically, what you're saying is put. I want to make sure I say this right. Invest where you're going to get the biggest bang for your return, which is where your terminal degree is.
Correct.
So if you know you're going to go to law school and you want to come out at a higher credentialed law school, Harvard Law School or whatever, get your paperwork to get to that level at a place when you have better economics.
Correct. Assuming economics is important.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the
You
point.
use the example, the parents are making $100,000. It's cheaper to send them to Temple than to Harvard.
Well,
if they
always.
get it.
I'm just saying, where people get caught is that window where you make too much to get a lot of aid. Like you go to fill. We're not really getting into the whole FAFSA thing here, right? But you fill out a FAFSA form, right? And you declare out you made $103,000, right? Well, that's too high to get a lot of guaranteed aid. But you're in that window now. You're too low to pay it out of pocket.
Correct.
Because you can't pay 65% of your gross revenue. You know, you got mortgages, whatever, you got a million expenses in your home.
And maybe another kid.
Well, yeah, we're not even going that direction. But I had 2 in college at once.
Right, me too.
Yeah. So, so what are some alternative things? I mean, you and I have talked a little bit. What are some maybe out of the box ish, or maybe things people wouldn't consider funding avenues that you might recommend?
Okay. So the first thing is using that $100,000 salary parent. They still have a shot at a little financial aid package, even at Temple or Penn State.
Okay.
$200,000, they're not getting anything. But $100,000, there's a chance. The second thing they're going to look at is assets in the parent's name and assets in the child's name. Let's say the child has a really nice grandparents that have been putting away some money in that child's name, in the child's social security number.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say there's $30,000 in that plan.
Like an UTMA thing or something.
Yeah, an UTMA. Yeah.
Okay.
That $30,000 is going against that child's financial aid package.
Hmm.
So I might tell the grandparent, sell it when the kid's 16 or 17, put it in a fund, maybe help the kid with a computer down the road, because now that set $30,000 in the kid's name is going to go against him or her when they apply.
So they're going to add a family contribution in that family contribution pot.
Correct. The second is if the parent has money in their own name, like in a Vanguard fund or in a bank, if they have more than $50,000 in those accounts, and you're using your example, they're making $100,000 in total income, well, they're not going to get any financial aid. So the key is move those monies into accounts that don't count, so they have more of a chance of getting a financial aid package.
Can you give an example of one of these without disclosing anything?
Certain kind of annuities don't count.
Okay.
You can use a cash value life insurance policy that doesn't count.
All right.
Money that's in your retirement account, your IRAs and your Roth IRAs, they don't count.
So if you're trying to decrease your family contribution,
correct,
and you had $10,000, you're better off having it and overfunding your IRA or your Roth or whatever you got, than you are keeping it in your checking account.
Or your Vanguard account. Now, you may say, well, how do they know? Well, after you fill out the FAFSA form, you follow it up with your tax return.
Right.
Well, the tax return right there tells everybody how much money you have.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're paying tax on that money. But if you have money in a Roth IRA or in a cash value life insurance or an annuity, that's not on the tax return. I call that a hidden asset. The college doesn't know about it. So now you have a better chance of a financial aid package than the parent who has $50,000 in the bank or $50,000 in Vanguard.
Which is sort of unshielded, so to speak.
Correct. It's right there on the tax return. You can't even get away with it.
And look, I just threw the 100,000 and the 60 in college as random number. A lot of people don't have that kind of revenue. And
I've got parents who make $60,000, but happen to have $60,000 in Vanguard from maybe an inheritance, and they didn't get any financial aid. Where another parent,
what do they do? How do they cover the costs? Or the kids just take loans up the wazoo?
Or the parents take Parent Plus loans.
And
then, which I also talk about, I talk barely about Parent Plus loans, because here's another thing we learned, my wife and I. Let's say the child graduates college, and this happened with my daughter, and they get a really low income job. So some lawyers graduate law school and they become a corporate attorney and they make $150 to start. Well, they can afford their loan payment.
Right. They're $3,000.
My daughter didn't want to go corporate law. She wanted to do family law. Well, a family attorney graduating college, law school, makes $40,000, $50,000. No way she can pay $2,000 a month in loans. So what I learned, talking about experience, if a kid comes out of college and gets a low-paying job, they can negotiate the loan based on their income.
It's almost sort of like a refi kind of.
Correct. But if the parents has the loan and the parents making 60, 70, 80 grand, the only thing the parent can do is when they try to refinance that loan, they can stretch it, but they can't really reduce it.
So the lesson is, if I'm hearing you correctly, the student takes the loan, not the parents.
As much as possible, you put the loans in the student's name.
But the reason you're saying is because they have more flexibility if needed later.
Correct. And not every student comes out making $150,000 a year from their job.
Yeah, I don't. My kid didn't.
Right. So if the loans were in their name, and mine either. So if the loans were in their name, you can restructure it based on income. Where if it's in the parent's name, it's very hard to restructure, assuming the parent is making a decent income.
Hey, everybody. Jerry Gross, financial advisor on Education Live Thursday. Steve Green here from Make the Grade. Education Live Thursday is sponsored by the Success Community, your place for complete support for academics, all thing academics, www.makethegrade.community. Check it out. And next week, look for the Black Friday special. It is unbelievable. I've seen it. I got some insider info. It's tremendous. Jerry, let's say you were going to start all over. Let's say you were, a young guy, just fell in love, having a little kid. What would you do differently? What would you tell to, a kind of a new young family right now?
Well, I mean, in our world, it was all about education and activity.
Assuming education is a priority. Right.
What's that?
Assuming
education was a priority, correct.
Yeah.
I mean, being Jewish, they also went to Hebrew school. Active as crazy in the community. Part-time jobs, all kind of things that they did to be busy, I guess. I would always say the busier they are, the less time they spent hanging out at the corner of 7-Eleven,
getting in trouble. Right.
Getting in trouble.
Probably did that anyway.
So I would not have done much different with that. I mean, I'm glad I had 2 kids. I'm glad they were, they knew they were going to college. They did well in college. They both got some money a little bit in college. I probably would have had less money saved for college and more money for me. I would have done that more that way. But not. I've seen a lot of people make some really, really bad mistakes on doing that. Like you said, I've had a kid go to. I actually talked him out of it. He was going to go to NYU for a bachelor's degree, and he didn't even know what he wanted. Like he didn't even know what his major was going to be.
Just want to live in Soho.
2 years, go to Penn State, and then go to NYU. And then you'll at least know what your major is going to be.
I'm asking this from the perspective of education.
Yeah.
What would you say is the worst or biggest mistake you've seen a family make? And not that they did it on purpose, right? What was it?
The kid is not busy.
Okay.
So I had a kid, went to Ben Salem High School. His SAT scores were as high as could be. His GPA was over 4. And he didn't get into any of the Ivy League schools. You know why?
He did president of the chess club or whatever, right?
He did nothing but study. He didn't have a part-time job. He didn't do any extracurricular. He didn't even help. We had a program called Building Bridges, I think, and my wife's daughter did that. She would actually leave the school, go to another school, and help kids that had reading problems and math problems. And my son did that with people he was good at math, and he would help kids who aren't really good at math.
So what you're saying is
doing that.
So the parents have to plan for the finances.
Correct.
The kids have to, and I've had other people on this show and in my podcast talking about this. There's a whole different categories of your buckets you're trying to fill for your college resume application, as it were. Let's talk about this for a second. What do you say to a parent who, let's say because some people are planners, right? The kid's born, they're setting up a 529 2 days after the kid's born, all that. Is there advice you can give a parent who, let's say, has a 14 or 15-year-old and for whatever reason just hasn't been able to put money away? They don't have anything in a fund or not enough. They know they're going to be short. Kids 15, 16, 2-3 years ago, they can't. Tough to save substantial amount in that time period. What's your advice there?
All right. So is the kid like extra? Is he extra or is he average?
Let's completely compartmentalize this in the financial space.
I did it, and there's nothing wrong with if there's a financial issue and the kid isn't great. There's nothing wrong with starting at a community college for a year or two.
Okay, so just keep your costs down,
or give the kid a chance to prove that they're going to do well. You don't have to.
Let's say it's a really strong student, and the parents just don't have the cash. They whatever.
Once you know the first year or two, you're taking boring classes, right?
Gen Ed. The term they use in college is Gen Ed.
Huh? Gen Ed, right?
Gen Ed. That's the official term. Just
right. I forgot. All right, Gen Ed. So there's nothing wrong if the kid goes to Bucks County Community College for a year, or community college for a year, stays at home because they did save money, right? But if the kid's extra great, he might be able to go to Temple or Penn State and get a nice little financial aid package. You don't know that yet until the kid applies, but you do know in the junior year if the kid is a B average and didn't do great in his SATs and doesn't have a lot of extracurricular. You know he's going to get into Temple, but he's not going to get any. He's not going to get a financial.
But from a financial standpoint, is there any does it even help to save $100, $200 for 2 years? I guess everything helps, but
yeah, it's going to pay for his laptop.
Right, pay for lunch one day.
Exactly.
Jerry Gross, financial planner. I know you do other things, so let me give you a chance to kind of plug your larger business. Who's your kind of ideal client? Who do you provide service for?
First of all, I do in the financial planning. I probably have two sets of clients. One is people that are getting closer to retirement and in retirement. We try to plan what to do with your money. We have an election that we still don't have a direct answer. We have a virus. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know how soon I'm going to take. So the market's a little bit nuts right now. So a lot of planning is the what ifs. And the way to handle the what ifs is don't have it all in one basket. We try to diversify it as much as I can. And when you're no longer a spring chicken, as you said about me, I start talking about long-term care planning. Make sure if God forbid you get sick or hurt and you need home care or nursing home, try to make sure you can protect your assets from that. So I've been doing a lot of that. So 50, 60, 70, we're doing more retirement planning. And then, as you know, as I told you, that all 4 of our kids are done college, and all those kids are making money. And I've actually worked with some of those kids that are millennials, helping them put away $200-$300 a month into a plan for when they get gray hair.
How would people reach you, Jerry? I'll put this in the show notes. But
so I have two ways. My phone number is 215-355-4544.
All right, that's the hotline, right to your desk.
And Jerry Gross Financial is my website.
Okay. So listen, if you're out there, you have questions. The purpose of tonight was not to answer every single financial consideration exists, but I think the take-home message here is: be smart, use your different options. There's plenty of financial tools and vehicles and whatever they're called, things out there that can help you. But also, the kids got to kind of pull their weight as well, right? I think, Jerry,
and also, there's shots that they can fill out paperwork to get some financial aid packages too.
Yeah.
I know my wife's daughter went to the Jewish Federation, and she got, I think, $4,000 a year for 4 years from them, based on, again, she had the grades, she had the SAT scores, and she had the extracurricular. If she was just an average person, I don't think she would have got that award.
I have a person coming on in January whose specific service is helping people find scholarships. I'm interested exactly what they're going to have to say.
Right.
Steve Green, Education Live Thursday edition number 10. Jerry, you will always be the 10th guest on this show.
That's my favorite number, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. Darren Dalton's number. Who else?
Favorite baseball player was Larry Bowa. He was number 10.
Larry Bowa was number 10. Yes, he was. Yeah. So was Darren Dalton. I'm trying to think who else was 10.
My wife's favorite guy, Darren Dalton.
Probably not a soccer guy. Pele was 10.
Right.
Who else was 10? I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of people who were 10. Jerry, I want to thank you for coming on. Take some time out of your busy day. You got a lot going on over there. People out there, my goal with this show and everything I do, the podcast, everything, the community, is to give parents and children, students, actions, things they can do to maximize their education, to be better students, more effective students, things like this. A lot of it's classroom-based, a lot of it's home-based, but some of it is you got to take care of these things. You got to think about these things, finances. It's not something people like to think about. Sometimes it's painful, but when you have a plan, it's much, much easier. That's why I'm happy for somebody like Jerry to come in and give us some insights. Jerry, you want to, anything you hadn't get a chance to say?
My wife actually came out with something we learned, and this is, again, the kid who has maybe lower assets and lower income. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can make a better deal with a private college versus a state college. So let's say...
why is that?
Because they have more money to give. So, like, let's say you want to go, like LaSalle.
All right, private school, for those that don't know, right?
Yeah. So LaSalle, $60,000 for everybody, except if you qualify. Temple's $30,000.
Yes.
But if you apply to LaSalle as a private school and you get a really nice financial aid package, LaSalle might be actually less expensive than Temple. Because Temple might give you a little bit, but LaSalle might give you a lot and bring it down.
So Temple, your retail, so to speak, is 30, and you get 5 and 8 year 25.
Right.
LaSalle, your retail 60, but they give you 40 and 8 year 20.
Right. A lot of people don't know that, and I didn't know that.
But at what point what is that after you get accepted? Is that a negotiation as you apply? Oh. I mean, I know the answer to this, but I'm going to let you talk about it.
Well, so, once you get the award package, and you can always call up to deal with there's a lot of people that actually do that for a living. Let's say LaSalle gives you 30, but Drexel gave you 35.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're close. You can call LaSalle and say, my kid really wants to go to LaSalle,
right.
Whatever. If you can just give us 5 more to match it to Drexel, and then you can email them the Drexel offer, you might be able to get it. LaSalle might throw in the extra 5.
It's like you need an agent. You need an agent anymore.
You can do it yourself, or there's college planners that do that.
No, I know, yeah.
But the thing
they take 20% of what they get you.
Yeah, but the thing too is, the kid who has more extracurricular will get more favors. He's on the
it's more money, right?
Right. He's on the soccer team, or he's on the debate team, or he's going to help. He helps people with math or whatever. Those kids get more scholarship offers than the kid who got a perfect SAT score.
The Renaissance person. That's what the colleges seem to want these days. All right. We are going to wrap this up. Once again, Jerry Gross Financial. Really appreciate it. I hope everybody got value out of this. Again, Jerry has an office in Feasterville, Pennsylvania, if you don't know where that is, a little bit north of Philly.
Right.
Grossfin, GROSSFIN at AOL.com, 215-355-4544. Look for this, the replay if you need it. Hopefully those of you saw it live have some ideas, reach out to Jerry, get a conversation going, and we'll go from there. Next week is Thanksgiving. You know what that means? Education Live Thursday is going to take a break. I know I can hear the people crying all over North America, shedding tears. I know. I was thinking about doing a Friday, Black Friday special edition. I still may, but it probably won't be Thanksgiving night. And then we're going to back off a little bit in December, but I already have guests lined up all through January into February, some really, really interesting ones. And if you or anybody you know wants to be a guest on Education Live Thursday, reach out. Screen at makethegrade.net, right underneath us, right there. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Let's get the theme music going here, and we will see you next week. Jerry, thanks again. We'll be in touch.
You've been listening to Make the Grade with the Success Doctor, Stephen Green. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe. For more resources and support, please visit makethegrade.net.